Ever get the feeling there's more to someone than meets the eye? Like you scratch the surface and bam, there's a whole universe under there. That's kind of what today's deep dive is all about.
Oh.
We're talking about Forge, a mutant superhero who embodies that whole hidden depths thing in, well, ways you might not expect.
Interesting. What's so unexpected about this guy? When I hear mutant superhero, I'm thinking, you know, the classics, right? Super strength, telekinesis, that sort of thing.
See, and that's where Forge throws a wrench in the works.
Yeah.
His mutation isn't about flashy powers.
No.
It's all about his mind.
Okay. So, like a super genius then.
Oh, way more than that.
All right, you got me. What's this guy's deal then?
This guy possesses an unparalleled grasp of technology. Like intuitive, almost instinctual.
Okay, so he's like, what, a tech whiz?
He can invent things that make Tony Stark do a double take.
Wow. Okay, you're really piquing my curiosity here. So it's not your average mutant hero then, more like a, what, super inventor?
You could say that.
All right, so walk me through it. What kind of tech are we talking about here? What puts this Forge guy on the map?
Well, to really understand Forge, we got to go back to the beginning.
At the beginning. All right, let's do it.
See, he's Cheyenne. And like a lot of heroes, his story starts with a tragedy.
Oh.
Loses his hand and leg in a bomb detonation.
Oh, man, that's rough.
But here's where things take an interesting turn. Instead of, just accepting his fate, he uses his powers to build his own replacements.
Prosthetics, but like next level.
Wow, talk about turning a horrific experience into something so, innovative. That's incredible. It's a testament to his strength, his ingenuity. But it also kind of lays the groundwork for his, complicated relationship with technology.
Makes you wonder about the burden he carries, right? To go through that kind of loss, it's got to shape your whole worldview.
Oh, absolutely. And that duality, that push and pull, it's at the heart of Forge's story.
How so?
He wants to use his gift for good, right?
Yeah.
That's the natural instinct.
Right, yeah.
But, and this is a recurring theme in his journey, he ends up developing weapons for the U.S. government.
Whoa, really?
Think about it. A mutant whose inventions are being used to potentially harm others like him. Talk about a moral tightrope walk.
Man, that just adds a whole other layer to everything, doesn't it? It's not just about being this brilliant inventor anymore. It's about the consequences of creation.
Yeah.
So how does he go from weapons developer to, superhero? Did this internal conflict lead him to the Xmen?
It's actually one particular invention that puts him on their radar.
Oh, yeah.
Although, not in the way you might think. He creates something called the Neutralizer.
The Neutralizer, what's that?
It's a device designed to suppress mutant powers.
Suppress mutant powers. That sounds incredibly risky. I mean, what could go wrong?
Right. Well, funny you should ask, because something does go terribly wrong. Like, catastrophically wrong.
Oh, no. What happened?
The Neutralizer is used, totally accidentally, to depower Storm.
Wait, as in Storm, the leader of the Xmen.
The one and only.
You're kidding. Talk about an epic case of unintended consequences.
That's putting it mildly.
I mean, to have your creation used against someone you probably respect, maybe even admire, that's got to be a crushing realization.
Yeah, it's not exactly a resume builder, is it? Okay, so the Neutralizer backfires big time.
You could say that again?
And I'm guessing this isn't some easily reversed thing, right?
Not quite.
So how does Forge even begin to dig himself out of this situation?
It's a turning point for him, that's for sure.
I bet.
See, depowering Storm, that's not the end of the Neutralizer's unintended consequences.
It gets worse. How do you top accidentally depowering one of the X-Men's, heavy hitters?
Well, remember I mentioned Forge's time in the army? It turns out that period comes back to haunt him. Big time.
Uh-oh. How so?
We're talking about an entity called the Adversary.
The Adversary, okay. Who or what is that?
Powerful demonic being.
A demon.
Seriously.
Yeah, and the messed up part is Forge accidentally unleashed it.
Hold up, wait. He accidentally unleashed a demon.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone from morally complex to, full-on supernatural thriller.
It's a whole other level of responsibility, right?
I'm kidding.
But here's the thing about the X-Men. Even after everything with the Neutralizer, with Storm, they actually fight alongside Forge to defeat the Adversary.
Really? They're willing to team up with him after all that?
They see past the mistake, past the invention. They recognize the good in him,
That's, wow. That speaks volumes, not just about Forge, but about the X-Men, their capacity for forgiveness, their understanding.
Absolutely.
So what, he just joins them after that?
It's a defining moment for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have retreated into himself, right? Wallowed in guilt.
Right, of course.
But he doesn't. He embraces this second chance, joins the X-Men.
So he goes from reluctant weapons developer to, like, full-fledged member of the X-Men. That's quite the journey.
It really is.
But his powers, his inventions, they're not exactly, your typical superhero fare.
Oh, true.
So how does he fit in? With a team known for, well, more traditional powers,
Yeah.
how does his stuff work with that?
That's what makes Forge so invaluable to them. He brings something unique to the table.
Like what?
He understands mutant abilities, but on a level that few others do.
Okay.
Take, for example, Krakoa,
Krakoa.
the island nation, safe haven for mutant kind.
Oh, right.
Forge creates backups for mutant minds.
Backups. For their minds. What does that even mean?
Essentially, he's safeguarding their very essence.
You're saying he can, like, back up a mutant soul.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, that's just plain cool.
Right.
But it's also, like, from a device that can suppress powers to tech that safeguards them, it's like he's trying to balance the scales, atone for his past creations.
Exactly. And it's that constant wrestling with the implications of his genius that makes Forge such a fascinating character. He
Definitely.
easily spiral, right? Get consumed by the guilt.
I could see that.
But he doesn't. Instead, he channels it into protecting others, into making sure mutant kind is safe.
But with someone like Forge, someone who's constantly pushing the boundaries,
Yeah.
you got to wonder, where do you go from there?
That's a great question.
How do you top yourself when you've already created tech that can, like, alter the very fabric of mutant existence?
Forge strikes me as someone who's always, 10 steps ahead,
Oh, yeah.
constantly thinking, looking for that next big challenge. Always tinkering away in his workshop.
Exactly. So what happens when someone with his intellect, someone who's seen both the good and the bad that technology can do, what happens when they decide to get proactive?
Proactive, what do you mean?
Like, instead of just reacting to threats, what if he wants to stop them before they even start?
Nah, I see where you're going with this.
Right. It's not enough to just play defense anymore.
Not for someone like Forge. He's got to be thinking bigger, bolder.
Okay, but that's both impressive and kind of terrifying, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you even begin to predict the future, let alone try to control it?
Well, that's where Forge's latest venture comes in.
Oh, do tell.
He's leading a new X-Force team.
X-Force. Isn't that like their Black Ops division?
Exactly. They operate in the shadows. No capes, no costumes. Just pure strategic action.
And Forge is leading them. So we're not talking about taking down Sentinels anymore. This is next level stuff.
Think of it as a preemptive strike team. They identify potential threats to mutant kind and neutralize them before they can cause widespread chaos.
I get it, but wow, that's a lot of responsibility, even for someone like Forge. Doesn't that put him in a morally ambiguous position? I mean, who decides what's a threat and how far is too far?
You've hit the nail on the head. That's the ethical tightrope walk that Forge is now navigating.
Right. It's the classic paradox.
Mm-hmm.
Can you really change the future for the better by interfering with the present? And knowing Forge, he's probably got some seriously advanced tech at his disposal for this new gig.
Oh, absolutely. He's not going in blind. We're talking next-level inventions, stuff that pushes the very boundaries of what we thought was possible.
But then again, that's always been Forge's signature, hasn't it?
Pushing boundaries. Yeah, that's our Forge.
Challenging our assumptions about technology, about what it can achieve, for better or worse.
He makes you think, that's for sure.
This deep dive has been a wild ride. We started with a mutant who could build anything.
Explore the consequences, the tough choices.
And now we're talking about preemptive strikes against potential threats. It's a lot to process.
It really is. But that's the thing about Forge, isn't it? He's not your typical hero. Flawed, yeah, made his share of mistakes.
But still driven by that desire to do good, to use his gifts to make a difference.
Even if it means operating in the shadows, wrestling with impossible choices.
It just goes to show sometimes the most compelling characters are the ones grappling with those gray areas. The ones who force us to ask those tough questions about power, about responsibility.
And about the unintended consequences that can come even with the best of intentions.
Exactly. And with a character like Forge, those questions never really go away, do they?
Nope. He keeps us guessing, keeps us on our toes.
And that, my friends, is the mark of a truly unforgettable hero. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.